If you've been struggling to source quality products or just don't know where to get started, you've landed on the right video, because today I'm going to go over some simple steps that you can take when you're outsourcing to avoid mistakes when you're buying inventory. Let's get right into it.
On my own, I've been on my own little journey.
Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're newer to selling on Amazon like I am, then you understand that there's a lot of information to learn and there's a lot of potential mistakes that you can make when you're trying to find inventory. So in this video, I wanted to go over how you can read an Amazon listing when you're sourcing products and what areas to look at to make sure that you are buying profitable inventory. So what I'm going to be covering today is how to read an Amazon listing, different tools that you can use to help make your buying decision, and lastly, a list of different stores that I frequently shop at to get inventory for Amazon. But hey, really quick, a promise is a promise. In my last video, I asked my NOTI tribe members if anybody knew what the acronym NOTI stood for, and I have to shout out my girl Alicia Eddy. She was the first one to hop in the comment section, and you got it exactly right. Nothing's offered, take it. That's a motto we live by here because we know that there's no handouts given in life. I really appreciate your continued support of the channel, but with that said, let's get started. So because I don't know exactly who we have in here, if you're newer to the platform, if you're more experienced, I wanted to start this off with somewhat of an exercise. So what I'll be doing is showing you a pop-up of 3 different listings, and let's assume that all of these items are profitable. I want you to tell me in the comment section why these items would not be a good buy. Now we're going to start off with listing A. And here we have a Smart Gear digital pocket size breathalyzer. So you can go ahead in the comments and let me know why this would not be a good item to buy. All right, let's go ahead and move on to listing B. So here we have a pair of Converse Boys Chuck Taylor All-Star shoes. So take a look at the listing and then drop in the comments for listing B why this would not be a good purchase. Now lastly, let's take a look at listing C. And here we have a Sony DualShock 4 back button controller attachment for PlayStation 4. So again, take a look at listing C and let me know in the comment section why this would not be a good buy. All right, cool. So now let's go ahead and get into the process that I use to read an Amazon listing to determine whether something is going to be a good purchase or not. Now, if you're a new seller, this is going to be really helpful because it's really easy and applicable. And I call this process the 4 R's. All right, so to run through what that means, you're going to be looking for restrictions, revenue, rank, and reviews. Now, all this information can be found in the Amazon listing once you scan an item. So it can be really easy for you to look at each one of these data points to determine if you want to purchase this item or not. So let's go ahead and break down each one of the 4 R's. So we're going to start off with the most important one, which is restrictions. Now, some selling restrictions are more obvious than others. You can pull up an item, and then once the listing pops open, you'll see a rectangular box that says requires approval. And with that, if you click that box on the Amazon Seller app, it'll take you to another screen where then you can select to request for approval. Now from there, one of 2 things can happen. You can either be auto approved by Amazon to sell that brand name, or it's going to ask you for an invoice or a letter from the manufacturer to get ungated in that particular brand. Now there's a couple other more subtle restrictions that can pop up on a listing, and one of them can be found toward the bottom underneath the picture of the item. And you'll see here that it says selling eligibility. It has a picture of a lock and it says you need approval to sell products in a certain category. So that's something else you have to pay attention to make sure that you're actually able to sell that item that you're looking at. Another subtle restriction can be found on the right hand side of the listing. If you see here, there's a circle with a line through it. That essentially means that this item is not eligible for fulfillment by Amazon. So it doesn't mean you can't sell it, but you would not be able to send it to Amazon to store it and ship it once a customer buys it. You would have to be the one to store and ship that item. And one of the last restrictions that you might see, again, will be shown underneath the picture of the item. And within the selling eligibility, you'll see a caution sign that says you cannot sell this product in new condition. Now again here, this doesn't mean that you completely are not able to sell this item, but when it comes to the buy box price and what it's being sold for in new condition, you won't be able to compete there and you'll have to have a lower price to try to sell that item. So to avoid all of these restriction mistakes, the one main thing you want to look for is in the selling eligibility portion of the listing that it has a green check mark and it says you can sell this product in new condition. All right, so now let's move on to revenue. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to use a pair of these Reebok men's shoes that I bought recently to determine if this is a profitable purchase or not. And once you open up the listing in your seller app, you'll notice underneath the picture of the item, there will be two rows. One is talking about prices and proceeds. The other one is talking about FBA offers and new offers. So you're going to go ahead and click on that first row. Now, once you get to this page, you'll see that there are two different tabs at the top. One saying seller fulfilled, meaning that you're the one that's actually storing and shipping the item once it's purchased. And then the other saying Amazon fulfilled, meaning that you're sending that item to Amazon to store it and then to ship it once a customer buys it. Now, calculating your profit for both of these tabs works the same, but I'm going to use the Amazon fulfilled because I generally send all of my inventory into Amazon warehouses. Now, in this instance, low price and new is what this shoe is currently being sold for on Amazon, and that's $99.15. Below that, you'll see the fees with FBA, and then underneath that is where you're going to want to put in your particular cost for shipping and then also the cost of the purchase itself. So to ship items into Amazon, it is fairly cheap, so I'm going to go ahead and put 50 cents. And then the cost of purchase that I had for these shoes was $36. So if you see at the bottom, it'll calculate your profits after Amazon fees and shipping and your cost of goods to be $41.35. So this is a really good item. It's over 100% profit margin, but for profit margin, everybody's different. There are some sellers who won't purchase anything that's less than 100% return on their money, and then other sellers will go down to 10 or 20% return on their investment. So this is entirely up to you. But the rule of thumb that I use is I don't want to purchase anything that's under 30% return on my investment. Reason being is if that sales price should move down, I still want to have some wiggle room where I still make money off of that item, even if I'm selling it for a lower price than what I originally listed it for. All right, so let's get into the next R, which is rank. And this is a pretty debatable one. So I'm just going to give you my personal process and rule of thumb. Now, to understand more about what the ranking means, there are millions of items that are listed on Amazon. And what Amazon will do is assign a number based upon the popularity and the sell-through rate of a particular item. So essentially, the lower the rank, the faster that item sells. And to show you exactly where you can find this information, once you open a listing, look toward the top left-hand corner, and then underneath the actual title of the listing, it will show the number, which is the rank of that item. Now, my personal rule of thumb for this is anything that I see under 100,000 rank, I consider that a good rank or a good sell-through rate. Anything that's between 100 to 300,000, I would consider that an acceptable rank or sell-through rate. And then anything above 300,000, I would consider a little bit more risky. And the reason why I say it's rule of thumb is because I've purchased items that have been 1 million rank before and they've sold within 2 to 3 weeks. And then conversely, I've also bought items that have been around 10,000 rank and it took them a couple of months to sell. So with that, there are different factors that impact the rank, such as what category the item is in, or if it's been out of stock and no one's been selling it for a while, which affects kind of the truth behind that data point. So I don't hold it as the end all be all, but it is a really good data point to look at to determine if you're making a good purchase or not. All right, and the very final R to take a look at is going to be reviews. Now, this is something that I wouldn't weigh very heavily into your decision, but it also is a really good data point to understand how many customers are purchasing this item. And the way that I like to think about reviews is maybe 1 out of every 50 customers that buys that item leaves a review. So obviously the higher the number and the higher the actual star rating will give you a really good data point on how many customers are buying that item and enjoying that purchase. So for me personally, rule of thumb when it comes to reviews, I want to see at least a double-digit number of reviews and at least 4 stars. So where you can find this information is inside of the listing. If you look toward the top right, that will have the star rating as well as the number of reviews that item has received. So after going through all of that, I wanted to go back and check your comments from all of the example listings earlier in the video to see if you were able to determine why these items would be a risky buy. So let's start off with the Smart Gear digital pocket size breathalyzer. So for me personally, why I would not purchase this item, even though it has an acceptable rank and you can sell it in new condition. When you look at the reviews, there are 3-star reviews and there are only 2 reviews that have been left. So if you answered with that in the comments, you're already ahead of the game. Now taking a look at listing B, which is the Converse boys shoes. Even though you can sell this item in new condition, there is no rank whatsoever and there's no reviews. So there's really no data telling me that this item is going to sell. So that's really good attention to detail if that's what you put in the comments. And then lastly for listing C, which is the PS4 back button controller, you can see it has an exceptional rank at 685. The reviews are 4.5 stars with 1,275 reviews. But at the very bottom, underselling eligibility, you see that you cannot sell this item in new condition. So if that's what you put in the comments, you're doing way better than I did when I started reselling. Now there are a lot of other tools and apps that you can use to help determine if you're making a good purchase or not. For example, I use a free app called Keepa. So let me know if that's something you might want to learn about and I can make a video about that as well. But of course, as a seller, one of the main questions is, where do I find inventory to resell on Amazon? And we're about to go over that now, but I am going to need you to go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel to become part of NOTI Tribe. And also turn on post notifications so you can stay updated anytime that I upload new content. Now the list that I'm about to share with you is going to differ for everybody depending on where you're located, what stores you have access to, etc. But when I started, the stores that I was most successful with going into a store doing retail arbitrage were stores like Kohl's, discount stores like TJ Maxx, Ross, Marshalls. I also would go into local thrift stores like Goodwill or Salvation Army, for example. Now from an online arbitrage perspective, I've been successful sourcing on websites like Kohl's, Walmart, Target, Reebok, and Nike. And the general strategy when sourcing online is when you go to these websites, you can go to their clearance section and then sort the items priced low to high and start going through and seeing if you can find those listings on Amazon and make any profit off of those items. Now I will caution you, the downside about this strategy is that it's very time consuming to go through each of these websites and then try to find inventory that you can resell for profit on Amazon. But what I've been doing over the past several months to fix that is I've signed up for free apps that will automatically send me notifications of these stores when there's an item that goes on clearance or discount. And that's actually where I found those Reeboks that I showed you earlier that I bought for $36 and that are selling for close to $100. And also these foam soaps that I bought for about 15 bucks and sold for $65. And again, these deals were sent to me without me putting in any effort whatsoever. So if you want to learn how I'm able to do this, please check out the link in the description below where you can join an exclusive member group where I go over my entire sourcing strategy in detail. Also, you would have access to a community chat, live stream Q&As, free ungating guides, and free merch. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to sign up and I'd love to share all this information with you. But beyond that, there's a lot of other helpful information that's linked below that can help both new and experienced sellers throughout their reselling career. Hey, but as always, I appreciate y'all hanging with me today and I'll catch you in the next one.